Woman, we have something more in common. We are both Southside girls. So I know that she's keeping it real in her household. That's all we can do when we're from the Southside. Hold it down. Because these men, they do these crazy things, and then you got to all support it. Husband's running for president. What people want to know most is how are we doing as a family and how are the girls doing. And I want to just let y'all know they're fine. Had this interesting conversation with Malia, my 9-year-old, that ranged from what college did I go to, what college did she want to go to, and what was terrorism, and where was Iraq. So it's interesting. I mean, there's a level of paying attention and not paying attention. You know, when I asked her, how would you feel if your father won, she said, excited and scared at the same time. And the fear is she'd have to move. I gotta go to another school. It's not that, they're just not that deep right now. A great weekend this weekend, hanging out with Lady Oprah Winfrey. That was an amazing weekend. Even for all that we've done, that was one of those, wow. Who are all these people here to see? It was a wonderful experience, and the enthusiasm and the energy was undescribable. People, when we left the stadium in South Carolina, what you couldn't see was that when we walked out, they couldn't get everybody in that wanted to get in under the structure that we had paved off. So there were people lining the circular driveway because they wanted to see him. When Barack walked out, there were crowds in the stands and lining the streets for about a block, just cheering and waving and the level of excitement. What that reminded me of was our trip to Africa 2 years ago, and the level of excitement that we felt in that country, the hope that people saw just in the sheer presence of somebody like Barack Obama, a Kenyan, a black man, a man of great statesmanship who they believe could change the fate of the world. We are still living in a country that is too mean. We are not kind to one another, and politics reminds us of that. It's the worst part of politics, where we have mistaken toughness for meanness. And we're still too cynical as a nation. I'm still meeting people even before this, and I'm a cynic. I was a cynic. I had spent my entire married career trying to convince Barack that this politics was the dumbest idea. And that he should teach or write, because I am cynical. I don't have faith that Americans want more than what we have. And many of us are like that. We fold our arms in disgust of the process, and we don't engage. We talk about them and they, as if somehow this democracy is somebody else's responsibility. We don't engage. We criticize, but we don't engage. We are too cynical. And we are still too divided as a country. And we are still led by fear. I talk about this all the time. We are a country that is guided by fear. And the problem with fear is that it clouds our judgment in some very fundamental ways. And the thing about fear that I'm most concerned about is when I think about my children. See, because when you live in a culture that is guided by fear, then that's all your kids. They're worried about everything. They grow up timid and hesitant and cautious. And that's not good. We're teaching them fear in a fundamental way. For my girls, when I think about the kind of country I want to hand over to my daughters, I want them to truly be able to imagine becoming and doing anything. Anything that they could think of, and knowing with confidence that they're going to have the resources and support of this nation to get it done. We've got young people who can't afford to be teachers or musicians or music teachers or journalists. I mean, the simple jobs. Social workers, community organizers can't afford it because the degree costs you more than you will ever make in your lifetime, so you will live in debt. So we're making certain careers obsolete for young people. They're seriously thinking, if I go to college, I got to go to law school, and I got to be a hedge fund manager, because that's the only way I can afford the education. And nothing against hedge fund managers, we just know y'all make a lot of money. those loans off. And I tell people we are living proof of that. Barack and I just paid off our student loans 2 years ago. Because, see, we went to good schools. Got those good degrees from those private schools, and we took out loans because he keeps asking, Barack, you don't have a trust fund? You sure? He's like, you? No. What about you? And as my mother said, we decided to work in the community. So with every job we made, we made less money. Mother was like, what is wrong with you two? We're for the people, Mom. So we were broke. We couldn't pay off our loans. And the only reason we're not in debt today is because Barack wrote 2 best-selling books. Woo! Thanks. But that is not a good financial plan. And so Barack was like jacking his magic beans. He's like, go out and plant them. Like, yes, honey. I'm with you. But it shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be based on luck. You know, we might as well have gone to Vegas and put all our money on red. But that's what most young people are facing. You're at a time when you should be saving for your children's college education. You're going to be paying off the debt from your college education. So you never get ahead. Ever. And you're working hard. Barack and I work really hard. We worked hard. I'm like running for stuff, campaigning. We've been working hard. We're broke. So just imagine what most families are going through in retirement. You know, my mother, I breathe right now because my mother, who is 70, retired. And she was able to retire because my father's pension left her in a position to be able to care for herself. So now she's helping me with my girls. And nothing like grandma, let me tell you. Nothing like grandma. Barack says our greatest challenge as a nation is that we are suffering from a deep deficit of empathy. And I believe that fundamentally, which is why we talk a lot about hope. Because you don't get to universal health care if you don't care about all children, all people. You don't get there because at some level there is a sacrifice. And where we are right now is that we've lost this understanding that we as a society do have a mutual obligation to one another. That we are one another's brothers and sisters keepers because we've been told for a long, long time that if you take care of you and you're okay, then that's enough. Don't worry about other kids. If your kids have a good school to go to, if you've got a good retirement plan, let the other guys worry about themselves. We've lost that sense that we have to care for one another. And we've also lost our ability to see ourselves in one another. See, this is the thing I've learned the most on this campaign trail is that there is no fundamental difference in the core values of people in this nation, regardless of their race, their political affiliation, or their religion. Our basic value system as a nation is the same. And it's reinforced when I walk into a room full of middle-aged white people in Iowa, and I share my story, and it connects. It is their story. It's the same experience. Our values are the same. And we have to be able to see ourselves in one another if we're going to make those sacrifices. Because it's a lot easier to think about sacrificing for some kids in South Central LA if you think that somehow there's a connection. But if you don't want to make that sacrifice. So we're at a point in time where we need fundamentally different leadership. That's why I'm here. Because we have to have leadership that's going to touch our souls in a way that we haven't felt in a long, long time. We need to be inspired because as a nation we are broken. We've lost our way. And the only candidate in this race who I think has a chance of pulling us back together is Barack Obama. Yeah.